can 24-year-old Benjamin Erickson sue anybody after being publicly identified as the Brown University shooter, a thing which is not true, according to the Attorney General. So we did not say his name. We did not report. By the time we got to the story, they'd already released him saying, whoops, he's actually not the person of interest. It wasn't him. And the mayor, the moronic mayor of Providence, is still saying, well, we don't know that he's been cleared. And then the AG is out there saying, oh, no, he's cleared. He's cleared. So they don't even have their message straight on this guy. But this guy was named by many media outlets, CNN and many others went down the list, but it's a very long list. And they all cited law enforcement sources. The media did not make up that. They didn't pull it out of a hat. They got it from cops who were leaking it to them. So the media, in my view, you guys, but you tell me, they have a defense that this was not published. And maybe the guy will be a limited public figure. Like, he wasn't a public figure before this, but he could be considered, quote, a limited public figure. You'll tell me what you think. But if you get that designation as like you're a limited public figure for like just this one story, then the burden to prove that someone has defamed you is much higher. And you'd have to prove the actual malice standard, that these outlets that they knew it was false or were reckless about the probability of falsity in reporting it, that they had actual malice in their hearts when reporting it, which was done, reporting it, by NBC News, CNN, New York Post, Washington Post, so many others. So you tell me, does this guy have a defamation lawsuit against anybody? Arthur, you want to go first?
Yeah, I don't think so. I've handled a lot of these now. And Megyn, you're very well versed on the law because you just laid it all out there. I don't think they're going to be able to prove this the way the wrestler got Gawker knocked off the planet Earth by saying, you knew you were making things up. You were only doing it to sell newspapers. Yet your only purpose was to hurt me, and you knew that it was false. So I don't think it rises to that level that he would be successful in front of a jury. As long as they could show the steps of what led to him, why they had a reasonable cause to believe it may have been him. I think ultimately some of the ballistics didn't match. And that's what was one of the real straw that broke the camel's back that said, no, we got the wrong guy.
Well, reportedly, he also said he had been in the hotel room the entire time. And now, again, that is what was reported. Don't know for sure that that's what he said. But if so, that would be verifiable with hotel videotape, with possibly key card records. Like
it takes a little
some
while.
Hotels would know.
But it takes a little while to get that stuff.
I don't know. If you're the FBI, does it take that? Why the hell do you have the tapes on the front door of your hotel if not to show the FBI when there's been a mass shooting down the road?
Right, but when I say a little while, I don't mean weeks. But you got to figure out, okay, when did he check in? When did he check out? How many cameras are there? Which cameras are we going to look through? It takes hours. I'm not saying it takes days, but it probably takes 8, 12 hours.
Well, and he was in custody, I think, for 18 hours custody. I said, like, he was a person of interest for 18 hours as they questioned him. I don't know, Matt. I made the case that the media has a defense, right? Like, it was told to them by law enforcement, but that was also the case in Atlanta with the Olympics in the 1990s and Richard Jewell, who many people still think was the Olympic bomber, and he wasn't. Hold on a second. We pulled a couple of headlines, okay, from the time. Atlantic Journal-Constitution. They're the ones who blew the lid off of him allegedly being the suspect. This woman, Kathy Scruggs, said he was the guy. Remember, because Richard Jewell was the one, if memory serves, who found the bomb and was a hero. And then a few days later, she dropped a story in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution saying, oh, no, he was the bomber, and completely ruined this guy's life. The title of the initial story, FBI suspects hero guard may have planted bomb. Body of the story that followed. The security guard who first alerted police to the pipe bomb that exploded in Centennial Olympic Park is the focus of the federal investigation into the incident that resulted in 2 deaths and injured more than 100. Richard Jewell, 33, a former law enforcement officer, fits the profile of the lone bomber. This profile generally includes a frustrated white man who is a former police officer, member of the military, or police wannabe who seeks to become a hero. There was a column by Dave Kindred implying a comparison between Jewell and a convicted murderer. The New York Post had on its front cover, Saint or Savage, with a photo of him. separate article titled "Who Checked Rambo Crossing Guard's Record?" He was a fat, failed former sheriff's deputy who spent most of his working days as a school crossing guard. NBC News, same. Brokaw said in a news broadcast, the speculation is that the FBI is close to making the case in their language. They probably have enough to arrest him, Jewell, right now, probably enough to prosecute him, but you always want to have enough to convict him as well. There are still some holes in the case. And guess what happened? Lots of settlements. That's what happened. Let's see.
Did they actually call him fat? They called him a fat.
They called him fat.
Yeah, that was 96,
fat,
right?
Fat failed former sheriff's deputy. Well, that's a New York Post.
Would they do that today? I don't think
Richard Jewell. Yes, they would. The Post, God love them. They haven't gone PC. Richard Jewell versus NBC. The lawsuit arose from the comments made by Tom Brokaw that I just read. NBC stood by its story, but later agreed to a reported settlement of $500,000. Richard Jewell versus CNN. Terms of the settlement confidential. CNN maintained that it acted properly, but it did pay out. And then let's see. I don't know if he must have sued the Atlantic Journal-Constitution, but it's right there. Where is it?
Isn't there a movie about this?
There is.
No.
There is. There was a movie about him being falsely accused.
Oh, it was the only major news organization that refused to settle. The newspaper fought the lawsuit for years, arguing its reporting that Jewell was a suspect was substantially true at the time of publication. The case went all the way to the Georgia Court of Appeals, which eventually ruled in the paper's favor in 2001, concluding the articles were accurate at the time they were published. And they did indeed find that Jewell was a limited purpose public figure, Matt. So where do you come down on it?
There's a really interesting case in California, Megyn, called Rothman v. Jackson, which is the Michael Jackson case, where essentially when you are a government entity, you have really good immunity protections and litigant privilege until you step outside that role. I don't think every case is unique and different. I think it's going to be tough against these newspapers because they're just covering they're covering information that they got from a source. The problem is the county and the state of Rhode Island, because that shouldn't be happening. And shame on whoever it is that's leaking that. That should never happen. And that is one small piece of what has very much appeared to be a hugely incompetent investigation so far on this. And I always want to give the benefit of the doubt. Murder cases sometimes take a long time to come around. But these press conferences, I've never seen anything quite like this. They're demonstrating such a lack of command of the facts. And I've stood on that stage more times than I can count with an elected official as we've described a case. I've never seen a lack of preparation this bad. And that goes from the professor or the president of Brown University to the questions that they don't know basic facts. So the idea that somebody in that shop is incorrectly jumping the gun and leaking information about somebody who may be innocent is awful. And I think that there's a better lawsuit against the government on this than the news outlets that have been reporting on it. That's my thought.
In the Jewell case, they tried that, but they could not figure out. I guess there were many FBI agents who had been privy to the information, and they could never figure out who among them leaked Richard Jewell's name. And the reporter Scruggs for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution would not divulge it. There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.